God, exalted be He, says to His blessed Prophet in the Quran, "Say, My Lord, grant me an entry of truth and an exit of truth, and from you an authority that shall support me." Sayyiduna Muhammad, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, received a divine order to emigrate to Medina, which he then made the nucleus and capital of the future Muslim state. From that moment on, Medina received several titles, among which were Dwelling of the Truth and Abode of Faith. It became the center from which resounded the call to God and His message, and from which radiated guidance and illumination. It also became the headquarters of the battalions that were to conquer the Arabian Peninsula, then the Old World. A special decree of the Ottoman Sultan, issued on the 25th day of the month of Rajab of the year 1335 of the Muslim calendar, stated that according to the recommendation of the Council of Trustees, a committee should be immediately convened to examine the blessed treasures brought from Medina and check them against the accompanying registers before taking them in charge. The special train that transported the contents of the Prophet's chamber from Medina to Turkey during the First World War was called the Sacred Treasures Train. This picture of the train was taken by Fakhri Pasha, the then Ottoman governor of Medina. Sultan Abdul Hamid II, may God have mercy on him, had been the one to place the foundation stone of the Hijaz Railway project. His aim had been to facilitate the pilgrim's journey to the two sanctuaries, which used to be made under extremely strenuous circumstances. The Muslim world was overjoyed when the railway that began in Damascus and ended in Medina was inaugurated. Everything that had been held in trust in the Prophet's chamber was logged in by Fakhri Pasha's clerks in special registers. Then they were loaded on the special train and sent to Istanbul. Thus did the Hijaz Railway convey the last collection of the Prophet's relics and sacred treasures to reach the capital of the Muslim Empire. Such relics had been transported to Istanbul for centuries from all corners of the empire, starting with the time of Sultan Selim I. They were kept in a special pavilion of the Topkapi Saray Palace. In that palace there were apartments that had served as the Sultan's quarters since the days of Muhammed the Conqueror, who had first captured Istanbul, at that time still called Constantinople, from the Byzantine Emperor. During his reign, Sultan Mahmud II ordered these apartments to be assigned to hold the relics, and they became known as the Sacred Treasures Wing, until the palace was turned into a museum following the fall of the Ottoman state. They are still kept in the same wing today.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله.
Imam al-Shafi'i is reported to have said, "No prophet was ever given a miracle without our prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, being given an equal or greater one." While the traditionist Abu Nu'aym said, "God, glorious and majestic is He, has softened the iron for Sayyiduna Dawood, peace be upon him, but for our prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, it is the rocks that were softened, and that is even more wondrous." The rocks softened so many times under the feet of the Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, that there are numerous footprints attributed to him throughout the Muslim nation. The one in Topkapi, a footprint of the right foot, was given to Sultan Salim by Sharif Barakat, the governor of Mecca. A large number of hairs attributed to the Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, are still kept to this day in various places across the Islamic world. The reason why there are so many is that when the Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, shaved his hair after the farewell pilgrimage, he gave the whole left side to Abu Talha, with permission to distribute it to the companions. The few hairs that are kept in Istanbul, however, are not from the head, but from the beard. They are displayed in a sealed glass container full of bee wax. Among the blessed relics is also the right lower outer incisor attributed to the Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, who had lost it on the day of Uhud when hit by a stone thrown at him, as stated by the historian Ibn Hisham, by Utbah ibn Abi Waqqas, the infidel brother of the great companion Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, may God be pleased with him. Among the blessed relics there is also the Prophet's ring, which he used to wear on his finger and seal his letters with. The reason why he had a seal made is that when he first wished to send a letter to a non-Arab king, he was informed that it was their custom never to read a message that did not carry a seal. He therefore had a silver ring made on which the inscription read, Muhammed, Rasul, Allah. The Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, sent letters to the sovereigns of the known world, inviting them to Islam. Among the most famous was that delivered by the companion Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a, may God be pleased with him, to the then governor of Egypt, whom the Arabs called Al-Muqawqis. It read as follows, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, most merciful and compassionate. From Muhammad, servant and messenger of God, to the Muqawqis, governor of the Egyptians. May peace be upon those who follow the guidance. To proceed, I hereby invite you to Islam. Become a Muslim and you shall be safe, and God will give you your wages twice over. Should you turn away, upon you shall be the sin of the Egyptians. The letter ended with a verse from the Holy Quran. O people of the book, come to a word that is common between us and you, that we worship none but God, that we associate nothing with Him, and that none of us should take others as lords apart from God. Should they turn away, say, bear witness that we are Muslims. Another among his most famous messages was the one delivered by Dihya al-Kalbi, may God be pleased with him, to the Byzantine Emperor Heraclius, recorded in full by the traditionists Bukhari and Muslim. These letters have been preserved by the Muslims over the centuries and have been definitively authenticated. Among the preserved relics are several swords, each of which had been named by the Prophet himself, may God's blessings and peace be upon him. According to some scholars, he owned 11 swords, among which the most famous was Dhil Faqar, which, according to the traditionists, he captured on the day of Badr, then eventually gave to Ali, may God be pleased with him. It remained with Ali's descendants for a while, then ended up with the Abbasid caliphs. One of the swords in Topkapi is 99 centimeters long, and on the blade can be read the inscription Muhammed ibn Abdullah ibn Abd al-Muttalib. Another relic in Topkapi is a bow attributed to the Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him. According to the historian Ibn Sa'd, the Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, had taken 3 bows from the Bani Qaynuqa' when they betrayed him, and he expelled them from Medina. One he named Al-Rawha', another he named Al-Bayda', and a third he named Al-Safra'. The bow in Topkapi measures 118 centimeters, and a special quiver encrusted with gold and silver was made for it by Sultan Ahmed I. The Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, is well known to have worn the jubbah, which is a long coat with sleeves. The jubbah, attributed to him and kept in a special room in the relics pavilion in Topkapi, is black, and several caskets were made for it over the years. These were transported in the sacred treasures train from Medina to Istanbul. Historians tell us that the blessed relics at the Husseini Mosque in Cairo were originally in the possession of the Bani Ibrahim Sharifs in Yanbu, on the eastern shores of the Red Sea, and that they had inherited them from their forefathers, going back to the days of the Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him. In the 7th century of the Hijrah, an Egyptian minister named As-Sahib Tajuddin from the Bani Hinna bought them from the Bani Ibrahim Sharifs, and, having transported them to Egypt, built a special ribat to house them. The location of this ribat is known to this day as Atharun Nabi, which means trace of the Prophet. Just before the end of the Mamluk era, Sultan Qansuwa al-Ghuri built a great mausoleum to keep these relics, facing his school in Cairo, in the area currently known as Al-Ghuriyah, not far from the Azhar and the Husseini mosques. According to the historian Ahmed Taimur Pasha, these were transferred to the Ghuri mausoleum in the 10th century of the Hijrah. Later on they were transferred to the Sayyida Zainab Mosque, then to the treasury at the Citadel, then to the offices of the Awqaf administration, then to the royal palace of Abidin. Then Tawfiq Pasha, the vicegerent of Egypt known as the Khidewi, ordered them transferred to the Husseini Mosque, where a special room was designated to contain them, until the Khidewi had a room with marble-lined walls and a ceiling of decorated wood built for them. This is the room that still contains them today. Among the relics in the Husseini Mosque is the sword known as Al-Adb. This sword was subjected to much scientific examination and is said to be made of Indian steel, most probably in Damascus. On the blade is the following Arabic inscription: Muhammed Rasulullah min Sa'd ibn Ubadah, which means, to Muhammad, Messenger of God, from Sa'd ibn Ubadah. Among the relics are also the kohl container and application stick of the Prophet. May God's blessings and peace be upon him. According to Ibn Abbas, the Prophet had a kohl container which he used to paint each of his eyes with kohl before going to bed. Ibn Kathir said in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, I have been informed that there is in Egypt a place to visit which contains many relics of the Prophet. May God's blessings and peace be upon him, that a certain minister of the state recently collected. Among those are a kohl container and application stick, a comb, as well as other things. And God knows best. As for the few hairs kept in Imam al-Hussein's mosque, the scholar Ahmed Taimur Pasha wrote in his work on the relics of the Prophet that there were 2 of them kept in a glass jar, in a small silver casket, wrapped in green silk and embroidered with silver threads. It is believed these are from the Prophet's blessed head. Their length is from 7 to 10 centimeters. In his lifetime, his hair used to reach his earlobes, and on occasions it is reported to have grown down to his shoulders. The Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, wore the various kinds of clothes that existed in his days, whether they had been made locally in Medina or imported from the Yemen, Syria, or Egypt. That which he liked best was the tunic or robe. Among the blessed relics there is a piece of a tunic attributed to the Prophet, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, and mentioned by a number of historians such as Ibn Iyas and Al-Jabarti. In the Husseini mosque is kept a piece of a rod made of cedar wood, attributed to the Prophet. May God's blessings and peace be upon him. Mention of the Prophet's rod was made in Ibn Hisham's biography in the context of the conquest of Mecca. Ibn Abbas said that the Messenger of God, may God's blessings and peace be upon him, entered Mecca on the day he conquered it on his camel, on which he performed the ritual rounds around the house. There were stone idols around the Kaaba firmly fixed on lead pedestals. As he was going around the Kaaba, he pointed at each of them in turn with his rod from afar, reciting, "The truth has come and falsehood has vanished. Falsehood is indeed ever vanishing." And they came miraculously tumbling down, torn out of their lead pedestals. Some of our ancestors used to say, "To have a single hair of the Prophet in my possession is dearer to me than everything on the face of the earth." This is the measure of true love.
السلام عليك يا خير الأنام.
You will never be a believer unless this Prophet, and God's blessings and peace be upon him, is dearer to you than your own self, your children, your wealth, and all of mankind.
السلام عليك زين الأنبياء. السلام عليك. السلام عليك أزكى الأزكياء. السلام السلام عليك من رب السماء. الله 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 الله. السلام على المشفع في القيامة. السلام عليك. السلام عليك يا بدر التمام. السلام عليك يا نور الظلام. السلام السلام